Welcome to Connections. It's a branch of offercentral. We're here with Austin Hancock. He was one of our guest speakers last time at a meetup that we had in Riverside, California. Flew all the way out from Oklahoma. It was funny. I just told him a joke right now that I've never met anybody from Oklahoma. And he told me, he's like, hey, it's not what you think, right? We don't ride horses to school every day. He's like, I drive my Lambo, you know?
Yeah, that's
right. So welcome, Austin. Thanks, brother. Here.
Absolutely.
And, yeah, can you please tell us like your story?
Sure.
Your upbringing.
Yeah.
And, you know,
Dude,
I like a tough dude.
I appreciate it. Thanks, dude. I grew up, like my family's very conservative, good Midwestern people, Christian household, morals and values were very important. My dad is an entrepreneur. My grandfather was an entrepreneur. And so I grew up around being an entrepreneur and kind of, you eat what you kill, you go out and work for your living and you get the benefits from that. You always work hard and always go the extra mile, always deliver on what you say you're going to do for people. And so that's the way I grew up. But when I got out of high school, I had gotten in trouble. I was just a rowdy 17-year-old kid and I'd got myself in some trouble. And then I wanted to join the Marine Corps, but the trouble that I'd got myself in wasn't going to allow me to get into the Marine Corps. And this was in 2006. And so I found a recruiter that was willing to go to bat for me. And we went to court with the recruiter, with my attorney, and helped me get out of these charges that I had on my record. And so instead of going down a rabbit hole of the wrong direction, I went to where I really needed to be, which was being basically reborn in the United States Marine Corps, where you can have fist fights and it's just fine.
Let out all the anger.
That's right. Yeah, everybody else is the same. Like it's just full of piss and vinegar, And so I went to the Marine Corps Infantry, and I served 4 years for the United States Marine Corps. I deployed to Iraq in 2007 and 2008. I did some operations with the Moroccan Army, and I just really had a good time when I was doing what I wanted to do, being a Marine Corps infantryman, and great memories. Really, really had a blast. So I got out of the Marine Corps, and then what did I do? I went right back to construction, and I came home to Oklahoma, and things got really boring for me. I was living a pretty fast-paced life at an early age. I'd already made my own will when I went to a combat zone. I'd already gone and seen the other side of the world. I was carrying a machine gun when we were deployed in that kind of capacity. We're moving people off the road. We're yelling at people to get out of their cars. We're helping people out. You're in a combat zone and you're controlling the environment, which is what you do as a Marine. And to go back home to Oklahoma and then now be told what to do, working a labor job and, carrying rebar and digging trenches and stuff was not near as exciting. Yeah, and so I had a big struggle with that, and I just knew that I wanted more for my life. Like this is not what I want. I didn't want to be trapped in that position for sure. And so I was working out at the gym. I've always been a gym rat. I love physical fitness, and it's just been a place for me.
I can't tell.
It's too big of a shirt. And it's really where I get you can call it meditation. You can call it just.
It's like your escape, right?
It's my escape. Yeah, it's where I get to go.
You go pump iron.
Yeah, or even just in general, like it makes me feel better, right? Yeah. It's more for my mind now than it is my muscles. And when I was younger, it was to build up the muscles, right? It's watching all of the movies, like can be a superhero.
With Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah, Arnold Schwarzenegger and Rocky Balboa or Sylvester Stallone and those guys. So
or Jean-Claude Van Damme. You ever watch his movie?
Yeah, dude, that dude's weight flexible.
Dude, that guy was legit.
He was way legit. There's some ones that aren't talked about enough. Some of the OG dudes.
Yeah, one of them for sure.
We were watching Braveheart the other day, and I was like, Mel Gibson was a gangster. He was ripped, dude.
It's funny because the Jean-Claude Van Damme movies, my dad was a huge fan of all his movies, so we would always watch them. And the thing is that I always thought they were in Spanish because I grew up in a Spanish household. So I watched them in Spanish. So I've till this day, I haven't seen one in English.
For real?
Yeah, and it's hilarious because I thought that's how they were in Spanish. I thought
that's funny.
Spanish and everything, but
did it look?
I was like 8 years old, so I would try to notice.
Damn, Jean-Claude Van Damme, he's good at Spanish.
Yeah. So my whole life, I grew up thinking everybody spoke Spanish, right?
That's funny.
I watched Spanish TV, and then now that I'm an adult and I moved down, I was like, why is he talking English?
I think what Jean-Claude Van Damme, I don't think he's from the United States. I think he's somewhere else, right?
Yeah. I think he's like Polish or something.
Yeah. I don't know, but so. I went out, I went to construction. I was doing labor. I didn't want to do that anymore. So a buddy of mine at the gym convinced me to be an entrepreneur. He's like, start your own business, dude. Yeah. You've been doing so many things in the for the building community. You know all about how to do the concrete foundations, how to do framing and all that shit now. And he's like, dude, you just got to start your own company. So I started building And I started one house I made more than I would gonna make that entire year per hour where I was working for the family business.
Yeah.
And I was like, holy shit, I made, $45,000 in one deal, one house I sold, I built and sold. I'm like, it's over. This is crazy. I'm rich, dude. I'm out. So I went all in and started building some more. And then I got a few custom homes off of that. And if you don't know what custom homes are, it's where, let's say Neil wanted to build a house. We would design it from the floor up. We would find a lot, a piece of land. We would do the foundation. We do everything from the ground up. Whatever your mind and your pocketbook can afford, we can create. That's awesome. So I did all of that. So the development side really took fruition. And then I got more and more in. I started growing that business. And we got it up there to where we were doing a ton of high-end custom homes. I say a ton. You can only take on so many.
Yeah.
But like 7 to 8 at a time per year. And that's a lot of projects going that are that scale.
For sure.
Yeah, these are minimum 3,500 square foot houses. So, and most of them were around 5,000 square foot. So,
yeah, it's very detail-oriented, right?
Very detailed.
Because people at that level or when you're doing something at, like, say, a custom build like that, I would assume the clients are very picky.
Oh, super picky. Yeah. Like, I mean, yes, that's the understatement. Yeah, they're very picky. And then rightfully so. Yeah. But when you're working with that kind of client, you're working with somebody that's uneducated about real estate for the most part. And so when they see stuff during the construction process, it's, blemishes and problems and things like that. They're not acclimated to that. They don't know. They know you're going to fix it, but they don't know how. And they can't unsee it, right? They can't see the final product. They think it's over. This is broken, or somebody put a hole in the wall with a broom, and so that stresses them out. Because if you think every other product that most people buy, it's complete. You don't see your car, when your car's being built, you don't see somebody bump into it when the paint was wet. You just see it go back in the back of the line, then you deliver the car. You don't know if your car had blemishes before. You don't know if, when most products that you purchase or you get, if you just bought a home, you wouldn't know if somebody broke something before.
Yeah.
So
hey, that window doesn't match.
Yeah, but when they go through it and they see it, it's really hard. They can't handle it. It's hard, and you have to think these houses have hundreds of people working in them. I mean, they're people, and they make mistakes, and they cut a board wrong, or they measure this wrong, or they make the wrong tinting on the paint, and they make mistakes. We're all human, so people can't wrap their head around that, and so it got really hard. Like I said, it wasn't my passion in the beginning. It was just something that I knew how to do. And so I went into it. Like, you grow up into it, you kind of fall into it. And I was like, this makes me money. Let's go forth. But I started to lose myself, like who I really wanted to be and the life I really wanted to live. Even starting a successful building company, it wasn't producing the life that I really wanted. But I thought because it made me money, I had to continue. And I was like creating my own trap. A lot of people get caught in their job where they make really good money or they continue to move up, but then, they're always asking permission from their boss, or have golden handcuffs. They're tied to a career where they can't make that kind of money anywhere else. And so they created this lifestyle trap where if they quit their job, everything on the back end is over, the cars, the house, and everything.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that, because I feel like all that is a mindset, right? Because if you're making that type of money with the skill set, you have a skill set that'll make that type of money somewhere else.
Right.
It's just a matter of figuring it out and knowing where to look.
Exactly. That's what I did. Yeah. I realized there's something I don't know.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, there's some piece of information that I need to obtain. And so my wife and I we invested in a real estate education program that was 2 years long. We would go out to these classes, like old school. It wasn't like today where you can find somebody on social media, really. It was like you go to these classes, you sit in the classroom, and you're there for 8 hours, 2 days.
You write on paper with the pen?
Oh, yeah. The old school stuff. Chisel in the stone. And I mean, I was just mind blown. Like, I got myself into those rooms, and it was the best thing that ever happened to me. And I started seeing, understanding what a deal was. I knew about construction. I knew about building. I knew about building a business. It doesn't mean I was really, really good at it, but I was doing it.
Yeah.
But I didn't understand what you and I were talking about, like wholesaling, fix and flip, buy and holds, equity, creating cash flow, doing any of that stuff. I didn't understand any of it.
Yeah.
I understand the emotional side, which is what you asked about. You just talked about, and people's expectations and getting the subs there and coordinating. But I didn't understand how to build wealth through that. And so I transferred those skills, which if you're watching this, you can cut the path down. You don't have to go and understand construction. There's people out there that will help you do that, right? You don't have a construction background?
No.
And you do it. You do flips right now, right?
Yeah.
So that's my point, is that's just my path. But I always emphasize for people to understand that you don't have to have the construction experience, because I feel like when I tell my story, it gives them an excuse to say, I can't do this because Austin knew construction.
Yeah, well, it's interesting because if you start anything, no one's born with experience.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Yeah.
You know, nobody graduates high school or is 18 years old and it's like, hey, I'm going to become a banker because I already have all the banker experience.
Yeah, because I'm a financial wizard.
Yeah, like you got to start somewhere. And that's the whole concept. I feel like a lot of the times when people are at that level, it's hard for them to mentally to start over.
Right.
Or let go of that person they are, because you have to reinvent yourself.
Dude, 100%. I really agree. And there's a saying out there, you know, you have to be willing to sacrifice what you have for what you want.
Yeah.
And it's true. And it's like who you are and your identity, because my identity was wrapped up in being a builder. And as funny as that sounds for me to say, but I mean, I was on the board of directors for Oklahoma Home Builders Association. So I had gotten myself into a community of builders and like-minded people. And I was helping that general community that helps builders, but also the community around us, you know, do more, and had say in what those people were doing and what the community was doing and what the neighborhoods were doing. But I mean, it just wasn't where I wanted to be. You know, I wanted to be on the business end of it. I didn't want it to be emotional. And that side of real estate is emotional. You come from retail too, right? Like you have some
very similar.
It's very similar. I compare that all the time because I work for builders as a builder, right? Like, and when I built a spec home or something for sale, there was a realtor that represented our product.
Yeah.
And the emotional side that you go through as a retail agent is the very same, that just not as long sometimes. Sometimes it is as long. Yeah, I know. Sometimes clients will drag you out.
Yeah.
And, but it's just an emotional purchase. It's an emotional thing. And when you do investing, it's business. Does it make sense? Does it make do the numbers work? Let's do it.
Yeah, and it's interesting because when I was a realtor for 5 years, by the way. I'm still licensed here in the state of California. I just don't really practice it as much.
Yeah.
I only do it. We were talking off camera about a deal I did recently where a buddy of mine wanted to buy a house, and he's like, "Hey, I really like this house. Can you write up the offer for me?" And I was like, "Yeah,
yeah, sure, that's easy."
Yeah. And then the offer got accepted, and he got the house, right? But going back to what you were saying, it's interesting as far as like the emotion, because I dealt with a lot of like people that their kids grew up in their homes.
Oh yeah.
And they're selling it and now they're downsizing. So they're not attached to the home. They're attached to the memories in the house. Or when they're buying their first house, like a lot of people save a long time to be able to buy
their only savings. And this is their biggest asset.
Correct.
And you're dealing with people's biggest asset. When I was building those homes, these are people's dream homes.
Yes.
And so they has to be perfect.
Yes.
You don't understand. And I'm like, I do understand. Every single client says the same thing, but I can't control some of the things that happen. I can't control when it rains. I can't control, if this guy doesn't show up to the job. There's just some variables there. And there's things you can't control as a retail agent, right?
And sometimes we're in it so much as real estate individuals, we're in it and we're in the grind, we're in the hustle. And it's so normal to us that at least for me, it happened to me that I forgot at some points, like not forgot, but the compassion wasn't there when it needed to be. And I've lost deals because of that.
Yeah.
But then it only happened once or twice and I learned very quickly.
Yeah. I did too. But I wanted out of that. I didn't want to have that feeling anymore. I didn't want to put myself in that situation anymore.
Yeah.
And when we're buying, when you're doing wholesale or you're buying a rental portfolio or you're doing creative deals, like we've done, then it's not emotional. It's like when I talk to another investor and he wants to sell a portfolio of 15 units, single families, I'm like, dude, let's make the numbers work. Like, you want this price, I can give you these terms, then if you don't want to give me my terms, I can only give you this price. It has to make sense. And maybe we agree, maybe we don't, but we both walk away. Yeah. Either way.
Yeah.
Just numbers. We're not talking about, someone's deepest, they're like their number one asset and their only asset.
Yeah. It's a trip because, when I was doing it, I feel like my business really started taking off once I got into the investment world.
Because you could see things.
I can see things, and my mind, I work very logical, and that's why I feel like sometimes when women get into, because men are more logical and women are more emotional. Not by any means tying to anybody, but just by nature, right? There's women that go into the retail side and just start killing it their first year.
100%.
But because they're able to connect at that deeper level and show the compassion.
True.
It just comes more natural to them, right? To me, it was tough.
It was so tough. Yeah. Yeah. When I would meet the homeowners, like maybe the wife would meet me on the project and she'd be like, I can see this grand vision of the kitchen and stuff. I'm like, so what is alliance?
Yeah. So when I got into the investment world, it just made so much more sense with me,
Yeah.
for me, because it's just numbers. It's like,
Yeah.
you said, it's like, does it work? Yes. Okay, let's do it. It doesn't. Okay, let's find another.
Just business, you know.
That's it.
I like that.
And the whole business structure and all that stuff.
There's
That's what
a
I
huge component to retail or custom home building or a lot of other entrepreneurial ventures that you guys may even be in. And the component is that if you're having to go, you know, to retail, if you're going to the client like that, then you're taking on emotions. If you're going B2B, business to business, then it's just business. And I like that. Of course, there's always emotion involved because you're dealing with humans.
Yeah.
But I would say it's like 80-20 principle. Like it's only 20% emotion and 80% business when it comes to investments.
Yeah, and there's no right or wrong. It's whatever fits your personality.
True.
You know?
No, people can kill it in retail. Don't get me
Some
wrong.
people really like the retail side.
Yeah.
And some people are like, I will only do retail. I've met people like that.
Yeah.
And I've met people that do like, hey, I'll do only investments.
Yeah.
I'll do whatever makes money.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's important though to tell everybody that does have a license or wants to do retail that they need to still purchase some real estate and get into real estate investing on that side. Because if you're killing it in the commission space, or even if you guys have another career and you're killing it in whatever you do, maybe you're a doctor or a specialist in some aspect and you make a ton of money, real estate's a great vehicle to offset your tax burden, right?
Sure.
And to really build wealth. You know, one of the doctors that delivered our kids was like in his 70s, like an OG doctor. And I always kind of giggle about it because a lot of times they don't have a retirement plan. I mean, they had a 401k, they don't have any assets. They've lived a pretty baller life because they make great money.
Yeah.
Like what you see is when people get older, that make a lot of money that had no plan other than their 401k or some kind of stocks.
And like a Roth IRA.
Yeah, they have that's all they have. Then I don't think you can keep up with their lifestyle. They have to downgrade or they have a DD to work.
Yeah. Which kind of sucks. Yeah, I went to Texas this past week and I swear the man was like 80 years old and he was working as the cashier.
Dude.
He couldn't even pick up
Sad, man.
some gallons of water. Like I had to help him.
Yeah.
It was just like, man, you know, like so unfortunate.
Yeah, recently, you know, I've kind of personally experienced it because my grandparents are getting to that point, you know, that there's people get worried, they have a lump sum of money or they'll be set up a certain way. And if their concern is that they're going to live past that lump sum of money. And that's some bad, you know, if you want to live this lifestyle that you only have $300,000 cash, what if I live to 85 instead of dying at 80, you know, and I don't have any more money? Like, how are you going to get more income? It's over. Yeah. What do you got to do? Social Security's not going to pay for it. Yeah. That's why real estate investing is so important. And one of our main focuses from the beginning when I switched from building into a true real estate investor 100% was focusing on equity and cash flow and buying portfolios of property and really building wealth through that, because now that's constantly paying me. Call it mailbox money, call it passive income. I'll be completely honest, it's not as passive as it's sold, but it is still much easier to manage than any other business.
I think you really, as for rentals, the benefit to rentals is once you're making income and you get the write-off. It's safe. True. Not necessarily at least not in California. You don't really cash flow on rentals in California.
You can cash flow on affordable property in Oklahoma. In the Midwest and the South, they do cash flow well.
You bank on equity in California, so as long as you're breaking even, the equity is insane.
Yeah, your guys' equity is great. You have spikes in huge equity for sure.
Yeah, it's funny because I had a big tax bill last year.
Market. Yeah,
for sure. I had a big tax bill last year, and in the month of December, I ended up buying a flip and a property out of state. To instead of going to get a car, I bought some property to offset it. So then I didn't have to worry about this year. So this year's coming up, so I might buy another flip
exactly
before the year ends. So that way I'm just doing it over.
Appreciate that one,
and then just growing the money, and then eventually I can just roll that money over and just buy my first. Because we were talking about it, I still live in an apartment, but it's a strategic move, right? Because it's just me and my fiance in a 2-bedroom apartment. It's a nice apartment.
Yeah.
And it's funny because my mom was like, you're over here buying all this real estate,
but you don't live in a house.
You don't live in a house. I'm like, Mom, you don't understand.
Yeah, sure. Exactly. Yeah, it's only an asset if you're not having to pay it for it, right? Like,
yeah. So, and I want to buy something nice. You get what I'm saying? I can buy something now, but I mean, $4,000 or $5,000 a month for a mortgage is even for me right now is kind of steep. You get what I'm saying?
It's wild for sure. And right now your buying power is chopped in half, if not even worse.
Exactly.
With real estate interest rates. So.
Yeah. And my biggest focus right now, I don't know if I shared this with you last time we spoke, is I'm actually building my brand, which is offercentral.
Awesome.
And I'm really, really building the brand because I want to sell it.
Oh, you sell the company?
Yes. Cool. I want to sell the company. So my plan is, yes, I can buy all this real estate right now, or I can just create cash flow.
True.
Which most of my money goes back into the company to cash flow more.
To do more.
And then in maybe 3-5 years, sell it. I'll be 32 years old. And if I can sell it for, I don't know, $10-15 million.
You're going to be 32 when next year?
No, I'm 27 right now.
Okay. So your objective is to get it to where you can sell it at that point?
Correct.
Yeah.
5 years.
So it's just all in. So when businesses are analyzed, they're analyzed on EBITDA, so earnings before taxes and interest. And so you can take a business and build it up the same way you can build up a real estate portfolio. They're very similar when you talk about building them. The only difference is the way they're run and the way they're structured. Some businesses are more profitable than others. And so you really have to be detailed about understanding what your net operating income is. So the actual money that you bring home and your profit margin, because that's what's the value of the business is determined off of. I'm not speaking to you. I'm speaking to a lot of people that may not know that.
Yeah.
And when you look at real estate, the value of commercial real estate is based off of the NOI, the net operating income. And when you go back to residential, it's based off of the appraisal,
in the area,
the comps. Yeah. What the thing's worth because X amount of people in the neighborhood paid that.
Exactly.
And there's pros and cons to all of it. You just have to understand what you're getting yourself into.
For sure. And right now, the only thing I know is single family.
Yeah. I love single family. That's all we do. I mean, I like commercial too, but man, single family is great.
Yeah, for sure. And it's my comfortable space. I think my next move right now, though, is to start prospecting, like say, baby boomers, people that are on their way out, maybe like commercial strips or like office buildings.
Yeah.
And seller finance. I'm getting really into that.
Like a shopping center, like type of?
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Cool. Do some type of seller finance or something where it could be like a 5-year balloon payment or something.
Dude, I love seller finance. So we bought over roughly around almost $3 million seller finance. So we did a bunch of creative deals.
Yeah.
What we do is we do the same thing. Like, so maybe some, I'll say one deal specifically. We bought 10 units, 10 single families, and we negotiated with the lady that was selling it. She was an investor, but she absorbed the property. So her mom was an investor, and then she basically got unearned equity. So she got these properties.
Yeah.
So she wasn't a seasoned investor like you and I are sitting here talking. And so
I'm not that seasoned. I'm just pretty new myself.
That's all right.
He's more seasoned than I am.
But and so she wanted to sell them, but she was like, I only want to sell one at a time because I don't want to receive a tax burden. I don't want to sell all of them and make $1 million cash and then get hit with capital gains. And so what I did is I structured terms to where she gets the balloon payments periodically, so every other year, and then she gets paid back in lump sums while we're still paying her a payment just like we would the bank.
Yeah.
And so we were able to buy the properties, which needed work. We got them re-rented out for a higher value. We're going through it and combing it and grooming it and making it a better operating business. But we got terms from her, and seller finance is a phenomenal tool, especially right now with high interest rates.
Yeah, so that's the plan. We'll see how it goes. I actually want to buy my house up too, so
that'd be cool.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. Next time you see me, hopefully I'm in a house. Yeah.
Yeah. What are your thoughts like when people are like kind of blown away that you can do transactions without having it on the retail market or that you can do business with people directly?
Dude, it's funny because right, my main business is wholesale. That's my bread and butter. Now it's becoming the marketing agency, which is a CRM. So now it's like 50-50. It's cool because it's growing so fast, but the wholesale side, like, because I'm licensed here in California and I talk to agents all the time, and they're like, I tell them my wholesale, which is legal, by the way, as long as you disclose and you tell them you're going to sell it for a profit.
Sure.
But they're like, hey, you're stealing people's equity, and they have such a negative.
It has a negative connotation.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm just like, okay, I love it when the people tell me that, because then I'll be like, okay, let me tell you this. What if you have an elderly? They don't have the money to rehab the property. They're losing the house. Okay. And they don't want anybody walking in through their house.
Yep.
And they just want their money.
Yep.
They don't want to list it. And they don't want to talk to any more realtors. You as a realtor, what are you gonna tell them?
Yeah, exactly. What's their solution?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They don't know. You can get this much. I'm gonna list. They're like, I don't care. I know it's worth more, but I want this price.
Yep.
And I want it in 14 days. Like,
yeah. Are you gonna solve their problem or not? Right. Your job as an agent, technically, your fiduciary duty is to solve their problem, right?
Yes.
So that's why the skill is great.
Yeah. So it's funny because a lot of realtors, and it's good to have exit strategies, because a lot of realtors will walk in with just the listing.
Right.
And then me and him go in there and we have 4 or 5 different exit strategies.
100%.
Like, we can buy it, we can list it for you.
Your job is to solve a problem. And if your only solution is one, just to put it on the market, then you really aren't solving the problems. I use the example that if you were to trim a house, if you're a trim carpenter, you only brought a hammer to the job site, you're not a true trim carpenter. There's a lot of other tools you're going to need to bring.
Yeah.
And so there's so many facets in real estate, but you have to start educating yourself and understanding, how you can actually solve these people's problems. And going back to what you said, the negative connotation about wholesalers is Well, we're not going out there. I'm not saying that there aren't people that are.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. There are some bad people in every industry. So just get that shit out of your head. Every industry, no matter what. But I'm not going out there, and you're not going out there and forcing people to sell their homes. Of course not. Equity. You give them an opportunity, and they can say yes or no. They know what they have. It's very clear. If they say they want to do retail, cool, perfect. Well, you can lead them down that route.
Yeah.
Yeah. But if they're like, no, to be honest, a lot of times they're like you said, house is trashed, and all the money to fix it up. They're embarrassed about the property, and they need a problem to be solved, right? And you can solve the problem.
Yeah, it's like, why am I gonna just like, no, we have to list it, we have to do this, and
that's gonna stress them out more.
Yeah, and it sucks because there's some agents out there, right? Just like there's bad people in wholesale and there's bad people on the retail side too, that they know that the person is gonna pay taxes when they sell their property.
Yep.
And don't tell them about 1031 exchanges, deferred sales trust, putting the property under a trust, and then they don't tell them any of that.
Right.
So then the client gets hammered with taxes,
yeah,
and the agent gets paid, and they don't care,
right?
Knowing that they were going to get hammered with taxes.
Yeah, and it depends on how long they've held the property. It depends on the state. There's a lot of regulations and rules when it comes to taxes and things like that. Because I know you can live in the property for over 2 years, and the tax burden goes down quite a bit. The capital gains tax burden.
Yeah, so if you're a primary resident, for those of you that don't know, if you're in a property for 2 years and it's your primary residence, if you're single, you have $250,000.
Yeah.
That you can essentially not pay taxes on. So if you profit, say 300, you only pay taxes on 250 or on 50, and then 250 is tax free. And then if you're married, it's 500,000.
Yeah, well, that's good. But the state of California, a lot of y'all's properties over 500.
Yeah,
right? I mean,
especially if you live for 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, the equity goes up, like you just said. You could have bought the property here in California where we are for $500,000 or $200,000, and it can be worth 1.3.
Dude,
now what?
My dad bought his in 2010, I believe, or 2009.
Yeah.
He paid $134,000.
Oh my gosh.
134. His mortgage right now is $900 a month. It's a 2,200 square foot house, 4-bed, 2-bath.
Yeah.
It's pretty decent size. And right now it's worth almost $600,000.
Dang. See?
Yeah. There. And I always tell him, I'm like, Dad, if you bought this house right now, he redid the whole thing. And he's building an ADU in the back.
Oh, cool. He's adding more value.
Yeah, so I was like, Dad, if you were to buy this right now, your mortgage would be $5,000. He's like, there's no way. And I'm like, yeah, well, look, I'm just trip it out.
Dude, but let's talk about that because that's a huge problem. Like, okay, so what about the next generation that wants to go buy homes?
Yeah.
Like if it's unaffordable here in California, it's still almost unaffordable for people to even get homes in Oklahoma, man, in the Midwest and the South. Like there's still property out there that's $100,000, $150,000, $200,000.
Yeah.
I would say you're getting into a nicer home, a good starter home, about the $150,000.
Yeah.
Now,
yeah.
So you can get a property at a good starter home, for $80,000, $100,000.
Yeah.
But the problem here is like the salary is different, right? So you make less money a lot of times when you live in this communities of like the Midwest and the South.
Yeah.
And so what are they going to do? There's an affordable housing crisis, and it's not getting any better, man.
It's a trip. Like, how does the average person here in California, our average price point, I think it's more than 600. I don't even know the average price point.
Yeah. I read an article the other day. It said that I was looking at San Diego, LA, and then San Francisco, and it talked about like in San Diego, the median income to own a home, you had to make $202,000. LA was like 140 something. And then San Francisco was like up there, like San Diego.
Dude, it's wild. It's a trip because most people don't even make
to afford a home. Yeah.
Like right now, a $600,000 purchase price, you're getting a $5,000 mortgage.
That's going to break
an FHA loan. Like, how does the average person afford that?
And then the other thing, that's scary about FHA loans or low percentage loans down is when markets do shift. Not that I think we'll see that. I really don't think we'll see that because we have such a shortage in inventory, a shortage in houses on the market. But if they do, that's what happened in 2008 is you could get a property and you could put almost nothing down, if not nothing down. And then the market shifts. Now the house is worth less than you purchased it for. And then you're like, well, here's the keys. Here you go. And then now abundance of property and real estate comes back in the market.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing too, is like when you're purchasing a home and you're not putting anything down, it's even
volatile.
Even if the market shifts, like, don't return your home. Like, keep paying the payment.
Yeah.
Unless you can afford it. Straight up can't,
Yeah. Well, what was happening is like people can't,
Yeah.
And it's dangerous. I mean, who knows what we'll see in the future.
What do you think's going to happen to the market right now? Like, say in the next 12 months.
Man, I wish I had a crystal ball. Right here, maybe. No, but reality, I think since we have such a shortage of inventory, we're at a stalemate. So we're at a very weird spot. And I've only owned property since about 2008. So I was my first personal home purchase after I got out, or after I got back from the Marine Corps. And so we're at a standstill because we have a shortage in inventory, and then we have high interest rates. And so people that own their home don't want to sell their home because they don't want to have to go get another house because they're locked into a low interest rate in their own home.
Yeah.
And so what we're at is people that only have to sell. So have to sell and have to buy are the only ones moving. And so if you're getting transferred or you can't afford your home anymore or some reason, some health issue, some situation, you have to sell your home, then they'll sell it. But then they're going to go from like a 3 or 4 or 5% interest rate that they were on before from the last 15 years roughly. And they're going to have to live at an 8% or 7%, which is like
50% more on your mortgage.
Well, yeah, it's the last house.
Yeah.
So now people decrease what they're actually living in. So they're downgrading for the same payment. And it's not justifiable a lot of times. And nobody wants to go backwards.
Yeah.
So I say all that that I think that if interest rates drop, and this is just a fact, I'll say it's a fact. When interest rates drop, if they drop, that there will be more houses that come up and it'll be a fire market again.
For sure.
Yeah, that's my prediction.
I think they're going to start coming down. I mean, this is just my prediction. I could be completely wrong.
Yeah.
Is next summer, before the election.
Before the election, it's always does. You look at history, they always drop a little bit, just enough to fire up the economy. And
because people are scared because of the elections and stuff like that. So they'll drop the rates just to
boost the economy.
Bring it up, and nobody's paying attention to what's really happening. Right?
Yeah. It's just smoke and mirrors.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. But it's interesting, and I've been talking about this a lot, is that the market we're in, you just brought up a good point, where it's only people that have to, right? So that means there's a lot less inventory, a lot less transactions. Doesn't mean that there is no business, because people are still doing very well, like yourself.
Yep.
But this is the type of market where if you haven't been in the industry for a little while, or you're not skilled or not sharpening your skill set, you're gonna be those people that say, hey, real estate wasn't for me.
Yeah, 100%. Or I love the people that always talk about like when they're gonna get in the game. Like there was the same people that were talking about, man, this is the most expensive. So like Oklahoma, we saw a huge increase in appreciation, which is really uncommon in the Midwestern states. We get an average of like 3 or 4% maybe appreciation. You guys get spikes and valleys more than we do. And so they're like, this is crazy. We saw 15% appreciation. Of course, after 2020, there was a lot of things that went right up. Yeah, inflation, everything else caused this. And so they were like, I'm going to go get into real estate, but not right now. I'm going to wait till all these deals come on the market, all these people buying at these high prices, and it's going to drop back down. Well, guess what happens when it drops back down? It didn't end up dropping back down. Yeah. It leveled out a little.
It's like the new normal.
It leveled out a little. It didn't. Maybe we're not at peak 2022 prices, but it only dropped a little bit, not enough to hurt anybody.
Yeah.
And that's the reason, is because what's the reason? Because interest rates went up, right? And then now what do they say? Well, I'm not going to get in the game until interest rates go back down. I mean, it's so, a good investor is buying in any market.
For sure.
Good investor. And if you're an amateur and you're thinking that there's a time that you need to wait for to get in, it's false.
It's incredibly difficult to time any market.
It's education.
Yeah.
It's you have to go and educate yourself,
So to the point you brought right now, do you think that prices went down, or do you think that inflated prices just stagnated?
I think they just stabilized.
I agree.
Yeah, inflated prices.
I think this is the new normal, though, for sure.
For sure.
I don't think it's going to be back like in 2009 where homes were $100,000.
Oh, no. Yeah, even like looking at like 2018, 2019.
Yeah.
And the reason that I don't think it can get there is because there's so many other factors. We're not just talking about real estate. We're talking about other commodities like lumber, steel, labor, land,
even inflation,
thing.
Even inflation alone.
Yeah.
Jacks up prices. So you got to take into consideration 15 years of inflation.
Yep.
16 years of inflation. It's literally almost impossible. I mean, nothing's impossible, right? Who knows?
Yeah, who knows?
But it's almost impossible to even get down to those prices again.
You just think costs so much logistically to do it, right? There's too many dollars into the economy.
Yeah, even minimum wage.
Yeah.
Now in California, it'll be $20.
It'll be $20 an hour?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Wow, that's crazy.
So that's another factor that you got to take into consideration. Once that happens, prices for everything's going to go up, including potentially real estate.
Exactly. What people don't understand when they get requests is you see this demand for more money per hour, which I get. Like the average salary and the average income hasn't raised enough to keep up with it, which is a mess. I don't have a solution for you. I'm just telling you what I see.
Yeah.
But when you're demanding $20 an hour and you work a very low skill minimum wage job and you have no education, and I'm not talking formal school education, I'm saying no tangible skills or anything that can make you more money. What happens is that person that employs you has to end up making more money too. And so they charge more for the hamburgers that you're going to flip. They charge more for the room that you're going to rent at the hotel because you clean the sheets. You know, like that's just how it works. If you dig ditches and you stand on the shovel all day and now you're demanded to get paid, you know, $20 an hour for your half-ass labor that you're putting in, you know, what's the person that owns the landscaping company going to have to do? They have to charge more now too. So everything goes up.
Yeah.
Everything goes up.
Yep.
And it's a freaking mess, man. I mean, and that just makes things worse.
It's a trip. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Got to prepare, you know, got to be prepared. Got to surround yourself with the right people.
True.
Have a very, very knit circle, close circle. And it's awesome being able to, like, say, for example, have a real estate question or know something, like even somebody in Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Now I can call him and be like, hey,
I'll be like, this is how I handled it. And I have great connections here too. Like I'm in some masterminds where I've got nationwide connections, and it's been amazing. Like that guy I was asking him about before. Oh, it's game changer.
Game changer.
Yeah. I mean, we were just at a conference earlier and that I was speaking at, and there was a guy that spoke after me, and he talked about, he goes, I got addicted to educating myself. And I was like, dude, me too. Like you get addicted to educating yourself and surrounding yourself with people that want more.
What do you think? You know, it's funny because I didn't go to college. I dropped out after one semester, but I always say I have a master's.
Yeah.
Because if I go back and look at how much I've spent and like masterminds and coaches and stuff, I've spent well over 150 grand.
Oh yeah.
You know, so that's what it costs to get a master's.
Yeah. I spent over like 35 grand just at one mastermind a year.
Yeah. So I'm part of one right now. I spent 20 grand to be part of it. That's why I was in Texas.
Oh, okay.
I was 20 grand. I was there, and it's a phenomenal mastermind because everybody in there is under 30.
Oh, awesome.
Killing it.
Awesome.
Killing it. Like,
is it specific to real estate?
Wholesaling and investments. Wholesaling and investments.
That's the key too, is like getting into those. You know, at the beginning though, if somebody's watching this, they're not in any, they don't know how to niche down yet. They just got to go to their local people, right? Like,
for sure.
That's what I think. Or reach out. I mean, social media is crazy. Like when I got started, I'm a little older than you, but there wasn't some guy on the internet we could reach out to, right? There wasn't me or you to ask questions about, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that's huge. That's so cool now. Like there's a bunch of phony people out there. Like don't get me wrong, there's gurus and bullshit, but there's also a lot of real people out there that you can connect with that like pay for their program, pay for the coaching. That's why I offer it now, is because I wish I had somebody that I could have held my hand.
Yeah.
You know, I had to go to the classes like I talked about earlier and go and sit in there. And then I had to take the information and try to figure out how to apply it. You know, and go do the hard work. I didn't have anybody to call.
Yeah. That's a tough too. Like, how do I apply it? Like, where do I start? Because you go to these masterminds and these seminars, and there's just, honestly, seminars are one thing, masterminds are way better, in my opinion.
True. Like, well, I think you have to go through the seminars first to figure out where you really want to go, and then you start niching and ratcheting down. And
if you guys are listening and you go to a seminar, spend the money on the VIP tickets.
Right.
Yep. Spend the money, go to the private lunches, go to the private dinners, because that's where you can connect with all the speakers.
Yep.
And really, I mean, think about it. Who's spending the money to be there in those areas, which is the people actually producing?
Yep.
Like, spend the money.
A huge thing that
if you can, right?
Absolutely. And even if you can't, dude, when I bought that program, I had to put it on 2 different credit cards. Like I didn't have the money then. So when I was building, I was still trying to build my building business. And I was like, I need to understand real estate investing.
Yeah.
And so my wife and I, we agreed that we're gonna just buy this program. It was like $50,000, $52,000. It was for 2 years, and we'd go out and we'd go to these little classes, like I said.
Yeah.
But I knew that I had to obtain more information in order to get a new life.
Yeah.
You know, and now, you know, another thing that's good is getting on, like there are coaches out there. Hire a mentor that will work with you one-on-one.
Yeah.
And you will fast track so much better. Like you will bypass a lot of stuff just by finding someone that's niched down in that.
Yeah, it's interesting because when I got into real estate, that's exactly what happened to me. I went to a seminar. I read a book. I got so inspired. I went to a seminar when I was like 18, 19 years old. And then when I went to the seminar, I connected with this real estate broker. You know, I showed up in a 2009 Corolla with a freaking Macy's suit on, and he shows up in a badass custom suit in a really nice car.
Yeah.
And I was like, dang, bro, what do you do? And he's like, oh, I'm a real estate broker. I've been doing it for 20 years. And I'm like, that's what I wanted.
Yeah.
Because that was the second time I heard real estate broker, because my dad, he's a superintendent for a framing company.
Cool.
So I grew up around all that, right? And construction and stuff like that. But then I would see the realtors show up, and they'd be like in nice cars and there's and all that. Like, yeah, I was like, man,
I don't know that guy.
Yeah, I want to be that guy. So So I after the seminar, you know, we connected really well, and he's like, hey, you want to work? I was going to college at the time, and then I was like, yeah. So I dropped out of college. I moved out to LA. I lived in Riverside, which is like an hour and a half away. Cool. He was the only person I knew, and I just went all in.
Wow.
And I remember I was driving Uber to pay my bills until I got some deals going, and I worked with him for 5 years.
Dude, that's awesome.
Took me under his wing.
Like, funny, our stories are so similar though. And most people that I meet that are doing something, all of our stories are very similar.
Yeah.
Like the startup, at least.
Yeah.
Like I read a book, something inspired me to do more. I went to a seminar, I met some people. Like, this is how my story is too, like real generically.
Yeah.
Like, and then I got around the right people. They told me to do this, and then I invested in educating myself on this. And then next thing you know, like, things come to fruition. Now we're here. You're doing it. Yes. That's awesome, dude.
Yeah. So it's really exciting, but
and it's funny that you said that you got to see your dad go to, like, he was superintendent. He probably was a framer at the time that you were growing up, huh?
He was for
a short while.
Stuff. Correct.
Yeah. So mine was, I saw, I would be the guy doing the labor, and then I'd be like the big wig builder would show up in the brand new F-250 Platinum, you know, the collar, like doing the thing. And I was like, dude, I just want the toys. I want to be able to do that. He got to go to the lunches. He got to do all these things. He was hanging out with high-end people. He lived in a home like he was building, like a super dope house.
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, I want to be that. And then I became that guy. But what I quickly realized is that, like, the builders aren't the rich guys. And then I went to these programs and stuff, and I'd see the real estate investors, like the real estate investors only, non-retail people, non-agents. Dude, they'd be like in flip-flops, T-shirts. They'd be on vacations. I was like, I'm going back. I'm going to that.
It's funny. I have a buddy. He's one of my investors, and we became really good friends. And it's hilarious because I just sold him a house like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
I signed it to him. And we'll go see houses, and he'll show up in shorts, like basketball shorts.
Yep.
Gym clothes, a t-shirt.
Yeah, I don't always dress like this, you know. In like Lululemon joggers and t-shirt.
But he pulled up in a Rolls Royce culling it.
Exactly.
You know, like it's so sick. Like when you're driving something like that, you don't really got to dress up.
Nah. Unless there's times for it. Like, you know, we want to look sharp, look this.
Yeah, of course. And just for you guys.
Yeah. And when you choose to wear the suit, it's different. Yeah. You know, when you have to wear the suit.
Yeah. And when it's a nice suit too. You know?
Exactly.
Like it feels a little different. Yeah.
Oh, dude, it's like a suit of armor. Like, it really does. It's like confidence when it fits you perfect. And you look good and you feel good and you have the choice to wear that. You don't have to wear that because you're at the front desk or you're selling something or whatever.
Yeah. You wear it with the different strut. It's a smile, right? Like you're the guy that day. You know?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, that's cool. Well, yeah, we'll wrap it up really quick. Thank you so much for being here. Just for one final question before we go, and I love to end with this, is if you can start over and say you were talking to maybe like your 20-year-old self, if you can start over, or somebody that wants to get started right now, what would be the first thing you would do? So what would be the first thing you would do to get started?
Yeah. First thing I would do to get started,
or like a piece of advice that you would give yourself.
I wouldn't change any of my own path because it got me to where I am today. I personally had to go through the mistakes that I made and the stuff to get to where I am. But for somebody else, if I were giving somebody else advice, I would say I would hire a mentor. I would hire a coach, and I would hire a coach that was doing it. And if I could find somebody that was on the come up of the coaching or was not quite, you know, where they're so distant away from you and you could work with them directly, that's huge. That's why I offer that now. Yeah. So I do. I offer mentorship and coaching, and I show people, you know, how to get from A to B and then how to scale from B to C, you know.
Nice.
And that's one of the biggest things. And you guys can follow me on Instagram. It's austin.hancock1. I also have a YouTube page. And I just want to put out content and help other people do that because, like I said, I invested in $50,000 plus. I invest way more now, but I really wish I had someone that, like, how many situations are there that you've had that you just pick up the phone and be like, hey man, how'd you handle this? Okay, cool. And it's just solved.
It's interesting because I recently started offering coaching too. Yeah. Not at the level that you're at, but I just teach people how to find deals, right?
Dude, that's important though.
And a solid foundation, meaning like most people are 10, 15 years on in the business and don't even have a CRM. So I preach the CRM, crazy. The sales script. Yeah. You get what I'm saying? The follow-up campaigns, all that stuff, and how to find deals. Yeah. And it's funny because some of my coaching clients say that scenario. They'll talk to a seller. I used to get on the phone with them and close the seller, but I was like, it works.
But you're not teaching them.
Exactly. So what I learned really quickly, it works better where, hey, tell me the scenario. We get on a call once a week. You tell me the scenario. Okay, tell them this.
Exactly.
You know, tell them this, tell them this, tell them this. And if you need help, call me again.
Dude, I think that's how we learn.
Yeah.
That's how I learn.
Yeah.
I learn by implementation and then going through those problems and then having solutions that somebody teaches me. That's how I learned everything I've ever done. That's how we learned how to ride bicycles. That's how we learned to, run. That's how we learned to do sports. Everything. You have a coach. I mean, you can look at the top athletes. They have a coach. They have a nutrition coach and a training coach and, every single part of it. But for some reason, people get really lost in the fact of a financial coach and somebody that can teach them how to change their life.
Huge.
It's crazy to me that like you can have a $5,000, $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 program and people will be like, no way, I can't afford that. And then they'll go to college for 4 years and spend hundreds of thousands of dollars and walk out and the school's like, well, good luck. We don't know what you're going to get. Or
dude, I had friends that being in the real estate, it's a lot of lifestyle, right? Like realtors get into that too quickly, right? Like, it's funny because I've had friends that'll close like a really big deal and they go buy a brand new car. Like
one deal
right away. Yeah. Like 1-2 deals and they'll go buy a brand new car. And there's nothing wrong with that. Whatever it is you choose.
Like some of those times they like boost me, right? Like,
yeah,
they boost you.
Yeah. Like for me, I would take my money and put it back into the brand, or buy more data or hire a coach.
Yeah, true. Or hire a coach.
Yeah, hire a coach.
Accelerate yourself, man.
Yes, and it's really, really important. So
huge, absolutely.
But yeah, thank you
again.
Thank you for having me on, bro.
To
continue to connect and
for sure.
And just looking forward to what comes.
Love it.
Cool.